This is breaking news.
We're interrupting programming this afternoon for some breaking news. Good afternoon. I'm Christine Johnson.
And I'm Dick Brennan. Edan Alexander, held hostage by Hamas in Gaza for nearly 19 months, is finally back on American soil. We can see his father and Edan walking out of the terminal.
These are live pictures here at Newark Airport. Edan arriving from Athens, Greece, coming home now 38 days after his release from Hamas. Edan graduated in Tenafly, New Jersey, and that is where supporters have been praying for his return since he was kidnapped by Hamas on October 7th, 2023. He was only 19 years old at the time, serving in the Israeli military. Today, he is 21, and his family surely celebrating this historic and memorable day for all of the hostages that were taken on October 7th.
And his family, indeed, and friends will be in Tenafly, New Jersey, and they'll be holding a parade there, we understand.
Absolutely. So once again, we wanted to give you this live update, interrupting programming here on CBS News New York, because Edan Alexander, who was held hostage by Hamas for almost 600 days, is now back in the U.S., heading home to Tenafly, New Jersey. His family, Dick, I'm trying to think back of all of the times that his family has pleaded for his release, praying for his return, likely the last living American hostage being held by Hamas.
His parents,
now back home.
Yeah, his parents, Addie and Yael, going on broadcasts all the time and using words like the agony. And his parents, every parent knows this, what an agony it must have been to know their son was being held hostage and not knowing his fate at all.
Absolutely.
Not knowing his fate at all.
Absolutely. Now, we do have Doug Williams at Newark Airport. He was there to watch Edan walk out of that customs area, being escorted by law enforcement. Doug, what was that like, seeing Edan back home?
It was surreal, Christine and Dick, and good to be with you. We've been waiting here for a better part of an hour now. Had a feeling when their flight landed that they were going to be making their way out, but we didn't know because we saw out parked outside of the airport here at Newark several state police cruisers. Didn't know if there was an entrance and an exit, so we might miss that emotional shot of Edan Alexander returning to U.S. soil and on his way to Tenafly, New Jersey. We saw the family go in, so we had some sort of sense of the fact that we were in the right place and that eventually they were going to have that reunion moment. Past security, obviously this is an international arrivals gate, so it's a very secure area. The family went in with some sort of law enforcement personnel with them, and they went inside. They were inside for about 20, 30 minutes. Family came back, and you saw those moments of Edan Alexander walking through the international arrivals gate, heading into the elevator, clearly taking a level down, where we would assume he is on his way to Tenafly at this hour already with an escort. That's about a 45-minute drive with traffic. I'd imagine that if he does have the escort that we believe he does, he won't be as affected by that as the rest of us would. But again, he actually, in the moments before he finally emerged, I spoke to a couple that had gotten off, and I said, you know, where'd your flight come from? And they confirmed that they were on Edan Alexander's flight. And I said, you know, were you aware that he was a passenger on the flight? And they said, no, there wasn't any announcement. He clearly just was awaiting his arrival on U.S. soil, and he's back in the state of New Jersey and most likely on his way to Tenafly as we speak.
Doug, as we look at these pictures of him with his father by his side and this escort by police leaving that gate, I'm looking at him and he looks like a normal 21-year-old kid. For being held captive for that long, it looks as though that he has obviously gotten some food in him.
Yes.
He doesn't look as thin as he did about a month ago. Did you take that same takeaway there, Doug?
Yeah, absolutely, Christine. And you know, we have in the now months and months that have gone by since the October 7th attacks, the devastating reporting that so many at CBS News and CBS News New York have done includes just a small number of photographs of those that were and have been held hostage by Hamas since those attacks. And to see him in person and on U.S. soil and with his family was an emotional moment. To see him in the flesh and knowing and not knowing what he's gone through and how that will stay with him for life. And now he's at a place that probably feels in many ways like home, just like Israel does in other ways. For him to have that moment of reconnection with his family in a place that feels comfortable after such an incredibly life-changing thing that he went through, and tumultuous months and years and agonizing in other ways, to see sort of that moment of normalcy in person was powerful. And he, like so many Jewish people in New Jersey, New York, and across the tri-state area, made his way to Tel Aviv and made his way to Israel. I remember we were reporting in the early days and months after the October 7th attacks that the populations in the city centers, the population of Israel actually went up after the attacks because so many went there to serve, or so many do serve and were called in as reservists. So it really is a home away from home in some ways, and now Tenafly gets to embrace him, seeing him as a member of their own community.
Doug Williams live at Newark Airport for us, witnessing the return of Edan Alexander here today. Doug, thank you for your reporting.
And Doug called it a moment of normalcy. Well, he is now headed to his hometown of Tenafly, New Jersey. That's where Allie Bauman is, who will be reporting on that arrival. Allie is joining us now. Allie.
Hi, Dick and Christine. That's right. I'm here in the heart of Tenafly, New Jersey, where people are gathering in the hundreds on the streets, hoping to welcome him home. Right now, we have people lining the streets here behind me and just really going down for blocks of the route that they think that Edan may be taking to get back to his home here in Tenafly. I was speaking to people a short time ago, you know, many of them saying they want to show him that image that his community is here to support him, because as Doug was saying, as we've been reporting on, you know, his family, the Alexander family, has really been just constant in getting the attention and the pleading out to get him back home and to get him out of Hamas captivity. But it hasn't really been just his family. It's been his whole community, especially here in Tenafly, that have been right there with them, behind them, and supporting them throughout this whole process. So some people had told me, you know, this is a celebration, of course, but it's not the end, because there are those 53 remaining hostages that are still over there. But for them, this is a full circle moment that they couldn't believe that they've been waiting for so long. Last night, I spoke with the family's rabbi here in Tenafly, who called this a miracle. You know, many never gave up hope that he would return, but to have this so tangibly be happening now, for many, feels very surreal. So this is a joyous occasion. There are families out here. There are people, you know, it's not just the Tenafly community, people coming in from all over New Jersey that we've been talking to be here and to show him that support. This is echoing something that happened when Edan was first released from captivity last month, where when he returned back to Tel Aviv, there were these celebrations on the street. There was this procession, this crowd on the streets to wave flags and welcome him back. And that's what they're echoing here today, that now he is returning back to his hometown. You know, Edan only graduated from Tenafly High School a year before he was captured. He graduated in 2022. In 2023, on October 7th, he was taken. So he is so young. He is so tied to this community still. We were talking to people earlier. Take a listen to what some people had to say.
So important for this entire community to come out and celebrate Edan's return. Edan represents everyone, and there are still 53 hostages held in Gaza, innocent people. And so today it's a miracle and we're celebrating him. Well, we can't fully celebrate until all are returned.
I know the entire Tenafly community and the greater Bergen County community is just so excited for Edan to come home, to welcome him home, for him to be celebrated, but also knowing that every moment it is not a celebration until all 53 hostages are returned home. And, you know, we certainly won't rest until they are.
So people are out here waiting. Once the car starts rolling through, I'm sure the crowd is going to be cheering him and be, waving their flags even more. And we'll keep an eye out for when that happens. Dick and Christine, back to you.
It indeed will be an extraordinary moment. Thank you so much. The thought of him coming home, the feeling from those people there, some of whom don't even know him, are turning out in the streets. And let's point out that he was taken hostage being truly a hero. 18 years old, he leaves high school, 19 years old. He's on the front lines in Israel. What an extraordinary young man. It
really is. And this has really been a community effort when it comes to supporting his family. Yes. Oh. I mean, you can't imagine as a parent what it must have felt like for your son to be held hostage for that long and at such a young age. We have to remember he was only 18, 19 when he was taken by Hamas. And we're parents.
Yes.
They're still children at that age.
Of course they are.
They are still children at that age.
And we also feel what the parents, when they say, and we heard many of the parents saying throughout this awful ordeal, the worst pain is not knowing. The pain is not knowing every day if your child is okay. And thank God Edan is back. And his parents saying that he was held underground. He never saw daylight, but he did see glimpses and heard his parents' pleas, which he said helped him survive. Absolutely. Indeed. So as we continue to monitor and give you live updates of Edan Alexander's welcome home to Tenafly, New Jersey, we also want to let you know about a severe thunderstorm warning that has been issued in Essex and Union County. John Elliott joining us now with much more on that. John.
A little bit of an odd juxtaposition here, but so glad we can spend this time to alert you to this storm right there. And you can see this clips parts of West Essex down into Union, also parts of Morris County. You're dealing with a great deal of lightning. The warning itself is in effect until about 3:30, 3:15, 3:30. It's going to migrate through. I just bring that to your attention because you see a few things. You see frequent lightning with this. There's a lot of heavy rain with this. You see the movement of this storm, but I know what you also see. Another storm, another storm, another storm. Just because these other storms have not reached severe thresholds, meaning 60-mile-an-hour winds and copious amounts of rain, that doesn't mean that they're not significant storms. And we do want to remind you that you look at some of this, parts of these storms in Dutchess County and more of Connecticut dealing with a great deal of lightning. This is the active line right there that's just now pushing into parts of West Essex. So that's Roseland, that's Fairfield, that's all the way down through Livingston. Those are going to be some big towns that are going to be dealing with this. Essex and Union, this is in effect until 3:30. Look at that. You see that? They're getting hail about that big. So hail is an issue. That always means there's cold air aloft. There's lots of mixing, so there's going to be lots of wind. Real quickly, want to remind you, too, that the National Weather Service has also posted a severe thunderstorm watch, which means conditions are favorable for the formation of severe thunderstorms anywhere in this area. One thing you notice, parts of the island spared. You still could see some storms. There's not quite as much energy there. I bet the other thing you've noticed is we were so hot, the numbers have retreated, but the dew points haven't. Dew points are still sky high, so that's why you've got all that available moisture in the atmosphere to deal with, and that's why we're getting ready for the possibility of more storms. So once again, just want to remind you, the shaded area right there, that is an active severe thunderstorm warning. That means we have obvious reports of hail over ½ an inch in size and dealing with lots of frequent lightning and quite a bit of rain. These pockets of rain are going to be an issue during the course of the afternoon. Of course, we'll be tracking it right here, and we'll let you know if anything else develops. Mindful of that storm. This is probably the second nastiest if we had to rate them. Up in parts of Dutchess County, be mindful of a slightly altered commute with Juneteenth, but still, watch out, make sure you're weather aware, and we'll keep you posted right here. But right now, I think we're going to head right back to the desk.
All right, John Elliott, stay on this, and you'll have much more at 5 o'clock. John, thank you.
Absolutely, and just to remind you, we interrupted programming here this afternoon to let you know that Edan Alexander has returned home. This is him arriving at Newark Airport. He and his father, who you can see there on the left in the sunglasses, are now on their way to their hometown of Tenafly, New Jersey. And speaking of Tenafly, yes, here's a live look at the crowd that is now gathering to welcome him and his family back home.
Talk about a joyous homecoming in Tenafly, New Jersey, where we hope those storms will stay away at least for another hour or so.
Absolutely. We are going to wrap up our coverage here on broadcast on CBS News New York. Our coverage of Edan Alexander's welcome home will continue on our streaming channel, CBS News New York. And of course, tune in for a full recap tonight on CBS 2 News at 5 o'clock. I'm Christine Johnson.
I'm Dick Brennan. We return you now to regular programming.
This has been breaking news.
Good afternoon, and thank you for staying with us streaming on CBS News New York.
We continue to follow the homecoming of freed Israeli-American hostage Edan Alexander. And let's get another check further along the parade route.
Absolutely. Christine Sloan is there now live. Christine, we saw Edan and his father arriving at Newark Airport. They were being escorted by some law enforcement. Hopefully they are now on their way heading towards you.
Well, this crowd is certainly hoping that nearly after being held captive for nearly 600 days, he will be back home here in Tenafly. And take a look behind me. Hundreds of people have lined the streets. They are holding Israeli flags, American flags, paying tribute to their bravery of their hometown hero. Outside of major cities, Bergen County has one of the largest Israeli Jewish communities in the country. Alexander, who grew up in Tenafly, moved to Israel after graduating from high school at the age of 18 to serve in the Israeli military. But on October 7th in 2023, Alexander, 19 at the time, was abducted by the terrorist group Hamas at the border where he was stationed. The teenager enduring unimaginable horror while in captivity. His parents tell CBS News after Hamas terrorists dragged him into Gaza, he was held underground in tunnels, never seeing daylight. Friends here in Tenafly say Alexander grew up in Bergen County town just like any other kid. He was a big part of the Kaplan JCC on the Palisades, joining a scout group that eventually led him to Israel and to join the IDF. And again, so many young people standing out here in Tenafly, New Jersey. We actually spoke to so many people here, young people, who told me they were praying for Alexander the whole time, that he was in their thoughts. I mean, these kids behind me, they're 10, 11, 12 years old, here with their parents. So for them, while this is a joyous day, you know, I spoke to friends of the Alexander family. They're telling me that he is not celebrating because there are still 53 hostages behind in Gaza. Christine.
All right, Christine Sloan, live along the route that Edan Alexander and his family will take from Newark Airport to Tenafly, New Jersey. That crowd there waiting to welcome him home.
Only a few minutes away because he just left Newark Airport, presumably, and he will be driving down. But joining us right now is Daniel Hurst. He's the president of the Jewish Federation of Northern New Jersey. He knows Edan's family and has been involved in the community's efforts to bring him home. When you see these pictures and when you saw that moment of him walking out so casually at Newark Airport, how did that make you feel?
I was overwhelmed, as I know the entire community in Northern New Jersey was. I actually took a picture of the TV because it has been over 600 days and so emotional, so heartbreaking, and such a beautiful day to have him back in Northern New Jersey, coming to Tenafly. We're so grateful. And at the same time, we have to remember the remaining hostages that are being held in Gaza.
It's a great point because there are many that are still being held and many families that are still waiting for their release. But let's talk about Edan and let's talk about the Alexander family. Tell us has it been like, not just for the community, but for his parents. Yeah. How do you continue to move on during this period when your son is being held hostage? How is that possible?
I don't think you do. I don't think it is possible. And I know Yael and Adi did not move on. They worked tirelessly every day, every moment to push for Edan's release. And this day today, his return back. Imagine, this is, as you saw, is a normal young person who grew up here in New Jersey. And the Alexanders are normal people. Yeah. And they were thrust into this position because an evil terrorist group came in to kill, destroy, and take hostages. And we are so, I can't even express the journey over the last 600 plus days of just torment to day 584 when he was released and we gathered in Tenafly as they're gathering today. What a moment. What a moment.
Indeed. Let's talk about that journey for a second, because this is a young man. He was 18 years old. He graduates from Tenafly High School, and then he feels the yearning, the commitment to Israel. What does that mean to the Jews of northern New Jersey when they see what a hero this young man was?
Yeah, he is a hero, and what it does is it gives us hope and strength and courage, because we know if Edan can do it, we all can do it. We all have to fight for what is right. There is good and there is evil, and I've had the opportunity to be in Israel post-October 7th, and I've seen evil. And Edan was subjected to that evil, and the young people and the old people, we're one community. We are one community in northern New Jersey. We've stood together for the last 621 days, and we'll stand together. We stand with Edan and his family. We stand with all of the remaining hostages and their family, and we stand with everyone who supports the Jewish people in Israel and what is right.
You know, I'm thinking about the effect that this will have on Edan's life. He's merely 21 years old. He has a lifetime ahead of him, and he is now thrust into and on this platform, so to speak, that he did not ask for, but here he finds himself on. And I'm curious your thoughts about how the community, how the Jewish community in particular, will support him in this time of transition and trying to get back to some normalcy.
Yeah, and it's, you know, it's an interesting thing. Celebrity is not normal. It's not normal to be recognized. It's not normal to have all of that attention, and it's certainly not something Edan and his family have ever asked for. So our job as the Jewish community and as Jewish Federation of Northern New Jersey is to bring the community together, is to support the family and continue to support with love and with space, and understand, you know, that Edan needs to recover. There's
psychological healing that needs to take place.
He looks healthy, but you know what he's been through. And as Christine points out, 21 years old is still in many ways a child, really.
Oh, yeah. And I mean, I get very emotional because I imagine you both have experienced very challenging moments in your life, and you see very challenging things. I know for me, I have as well, but not to this extent where you've been held in caves and watched and been subjected to what he's been subjected to. And so what we're going to do is continue to love him. We're going to stand together, and we're going to give the appropriate space so he can heal. But anything, you know, what we've shown as a community, coming together on the first anniversary of October 7th, 5,000 plus, again in those numbers when Edan was released into Israel, again today in those numbers, welcoming home in the right way, that where he can have space but understand the love that the community has for him as a brother, as a son.
And it's not just Edan himself, but Yael and Adi. Imagine the emotional trauma that they've been through for these 500 plus days. They have to recover too. They have to get their lives back.
I mean, I really get emotional. We had an event and we had 4,000 or 5,000 people on October 7th, and Yael and Adi were there sitting next to me, and I spoke, and I felt the weight of the world to make sure they understood how much we were loved. And when I came off, Yael went up and spoke and gave us all so much strength and courage, and then she came off and gave me a hug. And the strength that they have, the leadership that they've given, it's incredible.
You know, I use the phrase, how do they move on? That was incorrect. I think it was, how did they function, is what I should have said as a parent, is how do you function in a time like this? But they really, I mean, they rose to the challenge, and they were exemplary advocates and also witness to their son's plight, and they never gave up as a parent. I mean, any parent that is listening right now, I think, can understand what the Alexanders had gone through and will continue as they help their son heal, as Dick said, not just physically, but mentally as well.
Yeah, and also the fact that the parents did so much, going on television, and perhaps in some ways giving him comfort if he was ever able to see those interviews. I mean, imagine what it must have been like, the horror he was going through, underground, in tunnels, probably not getting enough food. It's really extraordinary that he had the strength, and really a strength of character, because that's what he's had his whole life. What about the other parents, not in the U.S., really, all around the world now, who are facing this and still worried about their hostages? How do these Jewish Israeli community, the Jewish American community, give them support going forward?
Yeah, and I think one, and this is, I mean, just shows the challenges we face, is there is a group called Run for Our Lives. They meet across the country every week to remember the hostages and make sure we're bringing attention. And it was only 2 weeks ago that a Run for Our Lives event was attacked in Boulder, where innocent elderly people had Molotov cocktails thrown at them. And I know, even more people came out in Boulder, in Tenafly, across New Jersey and across the country, because when terror comes at us, we stand up stronger. And I would say that's true for the Jewish community, but we have incredible support in other communities that have come to us, and it means so much to the Jewish community. And remember, in Israel, there's 7 million Jews, but there's 2 million non-Jews who vote, who hold the same democratic rights that the Jews do, Christians, Muslims. And so having the support within the Jewish community, but also across communities, is so important.
It really is. Daniel, I'm just going to interrupt 1 minute because I do want to update those that are joining us on our streaming channel that we are monitoring Tenafly, New Jersey right now, because they are getting ready to welcome home Edan Alexander, who was released from as a hostage being held by Hamas for almost 600 days. And really, the crowd that is there, that has come out to support him on this Thursday afternoon. I know that we are talking about threats of thunderstorms, but I don't think that's going to keep this crowd from staying there and sticking this out. In fact, let's go to Ali Bauman now. She is along the route that Edan will be taking home. Ali, Edan is now on his way towards you, and I'm curious how this crowd is feeling.
Yeah, Christine, the rain just kind of came back here a couple minutes ago, but that's not stopping the crowd of people from gathering here all along the roads of Tenafly, New Jersey behind me. Hundreds of people that have showed up within the last hour with Israeli flags, with signs, homemade signs saying, "Welcome home, Edan." We're seeing a lot of families out here coming together to give him the message that when he first returns back to his hometown, that they have missed him and they have not forgotten about him. In fact, they have been praying for his return back home here to Tenafly for nearly 2 years at this point. Speaking to a lot of people here, this is a celebration for so many, but of course they are still, holding on to prayers and to hope for the other remaining hostages that are still there in Gaza. But when, as you were mentioning before, when after Edan was first released last month in Israel, his parents had told CBS News that while he didn't see sunlight in those months being held hostage, he did see some of their interviews on the news begging for his return. And the Alexander family, his parents, they were not alone in that. They really were supported by the whole community here in Tenafly that was rallying with them, that was supporting them, that was praying and pleading for his release throughout all that time as well. And so this is his homecoming here. When he was first released last month and went back to Israel, a lot of people here gathered to watch that, overseas, and watch that celebration that when he was released and when he went to the hospital in Tel Aviv, there was so many people out on the streets waving flags flags and welcoming him back to Israel. And now they want to echo that here as well. And some people had said they want to echo that, but they also want the people in Israel to see that they're welcoming him back here and that they're standing united in this way. Again, a lot of families coming here, bringing their young children, bringing their adult children. Take a listen to some of the people we talked to.
To support this family that has been through so much pain, and the American people too, to have one of our Americans that was held over there against their will. Nobody should be kept against their will. I don't care what side you're on, the Palestinian side or the Israeli side. People are people, and people need to be treated like people. And it's just a shame that it had to come down to something like this and so many people getting killed. And just hopefully we can have peace in the world.
Obviously, I can't imagine anything close to what Edan has gone through over the past several years, and I know returning to Tenafly, where he grew up, is some sense of normalcy. So I'm just here to really support him in coming back to whatever sense of normalcy he can get at this point in time, and just as a neighbor to really support him within this town and within this community.
Do you know Edan personally?
No, I'm a few years older than him, but I also went to Tenafly High School, so we're connected through that way. And of course, just being Jewish members of the town together, part of New Jersey, but just wishing him all of the best in this next chapter of life.
And, you know, keep in mind, this is not like it's a parade where people here are expecting to see Edan, you know, on a float waving. They're coming here and waiting and knowing full well they may not even see his face as he drives by. He may be just staying in the car, but it's not about seeing him as much as it's about them wanting him to see them and him to see that people are here and standing with him and waiting to welcome him back with open arms, knowing that returning home doesn't mean that everything goes back to normal and that his life is just gonna, you know, go back to normal from here. It's gonna be an adjustment, and people here are wanting to help him in that adjustment period. Christine?
Ali, thank you so much. And we were just talking with Daniel Hers of the Jewish Federation of Northern Jersey, and you just said something, Daniel, which I thought was very meaningful and emotional. And we could just ask you, what did it mean when you saw that crowd just now?
I'm so proud of our community. It's remarkable to see, again, the thousands of people. And I think, is it Ali?
Ali Bell.
I think Ali said it perfectly. They're there to show Edan and the family the support with no expectations of seeing them. It's just to show love and support. And if I may say, the coordination between the Jewish Federation of Northern New Jersey, the JCC, and the IAC, the Israeli American Council. This is what we do, is we come together, and what you see there is the manifestation of that. It's thousands of people linking arm in arm to show love for one of our own who's coming home.
Yeah, because this is not an organized gathering here today. This was word of mouth. This was the community coming out and saying, we want to be there. The family did not ask for this. So that's why Ali mentioned that we don't even know if anyone there is going to be able to see Edan or if they'll stop and speak. It's just a big question mark. They may change their mind if they see the crowd out there, but no one has any high expectations of what is going to take place here this afternoon. I think it's just important for these people, for this community, to show that they are there for this family and, more importantly, for Edan. I do want to pause one more time because we are monitoring some severe thunderstorm warnings, which actually could also affect the area where these crowds have gathered in Tenafly, New Jersey. Let's go to John Elliott with the latest on that track. John.
Such an amazing drama unfolding, and I hate to add to this. Happy to join the celebration, but look at this line. This is part of this complex. These are a severe thunderstorm right now pushing through parts of Essex County that could end up clipping Bergen County. Obviously, they'll see some rain. Whether or not it'll hang on to severe threshold, meaning the gusty winds, that's something they're going to have to be mindful of in Tenafly. The one added news we want to share with you is this is a brand new severe thunderstorm warning for parts of Dutchess County, and you can see, no surprise there, lots of available energy. With this storm, great deal of hail, just amazing, blinding rain, and lots of lightning. Wind right now just at 60 miles an hour. We've got pretty significant hail. This is now pushing into and closer to Bergen County. Every now and then you see the crowds there, you see the umbrellas. That's appropriate. My concern would be lightning, and then would be how this is going to slow down traffic all around the area. And then this new warning, this obviously makes sense. This is a very potent storm, too. It has hail, quite a bit of hail, and lots of lightning and wind right there. Front leading edge of that has got about 60-mile-an-hour winds. In context, much of the area is under a severe thunderstorm watch. We're going to have more on that, and we'll be watching those two storms. But this, again, part of a front that's pushing through for all. Whether you're watching coverage right there in Tenafly or around the area, please be mindful of the risk of lightning and slow down behind the wheel, because that rain can really slow you down. Vanessa and Lonnie will have more coming up in a bit. Right now, though, right back to you, Dave.
Absolutely. Well, we did issue that first alert weather day yesterday for today. Yeah. So here we are as this makes its way into the area. John, thank you for that. We do want to let you know that we are going to be saying goodbye on our coverage here on streaming, but we want to let you know that we're continuing to follow developments. Earlier this afternoon, about what was it, half an hour ago?
Yeah, about a half an hour.
We were live at Newark Airport. Doug Williams and his crew there were able to bring us pictures of Edan Alexander being escorted with his father there, and also law enforcement, off of a flight from Athens, Greece, after being held captive by Hamas for almost 600 days. He was released on May 12th, and 38 days after that is what brings us here today for this Tenafly community that is now embracing his family. There they are with their Israeli flags, Israeli American flags, folks that have come out to welcome Edan home.
You know, the word community, we say in our society that the community doesn't come together, that we don't see enough of that in America today. But this is an extraordinary moment because, as you pointed out, Christine, this is not something that was necessarily on anybody's schedule. And this is not one organization, although there are many great ones like the Jewish Federation of Northern New Jersey. Daniel Herz is here supporting that. But this isn't something that was planned. This is just sort of people coming out, feeling the sense of community and the sense of support for a family that has been through absolute hell these past few years. And at least for now, Edan is looking healthy. We know he's been through so much trauma, but he will need this support.
Absolutely. Daniel, before we say goodbye to you, I just want to get your final thoughts here. You know, it's been a long journey for you, for this family, for the community, for the Jewish people. And I want to know how you're feeling right now in this moment as Edan makes his way to Tenafly, to enter into his home. He's going to be sleeping in his bed tonight.
I feel incredible amounts of love just pouring out and for Edan and for the Alexander family. And I'm just so grateful for the community and the love that they've shown, the support, and I know the support they'll continue to show. That's what we do.
And that's so key. And you are saying that your organization and many others are also doing this going forward on many other fronts.
Together, we're one community. And you said Jewish Federation, but it is literally 100+ organizations that come together and unite for good in supporting the Alexander family and supporting what is right.
And we wait for the ultimate homecoming in just a few minutes.
Absolutely. I start getting these flashbacks of when Edan was reunited with his parents and the wails that happened, you know, from his mother. I mean, that's the only way that I can describe it, but it was happy, it was joyous, and think of a mother. Oh, I get teary-eyed when I say this, but think of a mother, you know, seeing her son again after being held hostage for so many days. It is a joyous. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
It's like a miracle. I just expressing the emotion. It's like a miracle when your child is taken, and so many have been killed, and so many have been harmed so viciously. To be able to have that child come home, and we have to celebrate on days like today and homecomings like this. And also remember the remaining hostages, and we have to bring them home.
It is not over yet.
Daniel Herz, thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much.
And once Edan arrives here in Tenafly, we will be bringing you live pictures on our streaming channel, CBS News New York. Stay tuned. I'm Christine Johnson.
I'm Dick Brennan. We'll see you very shortly.
This has been breaking news.